In addition to reinforcing trust, punishment signals that the community values accountability and integrity. It affirms that wrong actions have consequences and that the collective commitment to fairness is strong. This affirmation strengthens the moral fabric of society, encouraging individuals to act responsibly and ethically. It also reassures victims and vulnerable members of the community that their safety and rights are protected, which is vital for social cohesion and peace. Ultimately, by upholding the principle that wrongdoing will be met with appropriate consequences, punishment helps build a culture of trust and respect. This culture is essential for the functioning of democratic institutions, economic systems, and social relationships. Without trust, society becomes fragmented, and the foundations of cooperation and mutual support begin to crumble. This equality before the law reassures individuals that they will be treated fairly, and that their concerns will be taken seriously. Conversely, when punishment is perceived as arbitrary or corrupt, it erodes public confidence and weakens the social contract. People lose faith in the ability of institutions to safeguard their interests and may withdraw their support or cooperation. Moreover, trust in societal systems encourages voluntary compliance with laws and regulations, reducing the need for excessive enforcement measures. When people believe in the fairness and effectiveness of the justice system, they are more likely to follow rules willingly, knowing that doing so benefits the whole community. This voluntary adherence helps create a more orderly and harmonious society, where conflict is minimized and cooperation is maximized. It also allows authorities to focus resources on more serious issues rather than constantly policing minor infractions. Punishment plays a crucial role in fostering trust in societal institutions because it demonstrates that rules and laws are not empty words, but are actively upheld and enforced. When people see that those who violate norms or laws are held accountable, they gain confidence that the system is reliable, just, and capable of protecting their rights and well-being. This trust is foundational for a healthy society, as it encourages citizens to cooperate with authorities, respect laws, and engage positively within their communities. Without visible and fair enforcement of rules, people may become cynical or disillusioned, feeling that the system is ineffective or biased, which can lead to apathy or even unrest. Trust in institutions is not built overnight. It requires consistent and transparent application of consequences. When punishment is administered fairly and without favoritism, it sends a message that justice applies equally to everyone, regardless of status or background. Without experiencing that discomfort or disruption, individuals may never fully grasp the weight of what they've done, and the chance to grow beyond the mistake is lost. In this way, punishment becomes more than a tool for discipline. It is a process that brings justice full circle. It addresses harm, heals wounds, upholds shared values, and brings society back to a sense of equilibrium. This restoration is essential for moving forward after any act that threatens the unity, safety, or morality of the community. Additionally, the broader community benefits from seeing justice done. It helps restore confidence in social institutions, be it schools, legal systems, or workplaces, and reinforces the idea that fairness is not just an ideal but a working principle. This reassurance is necessary for societal cohesion because when balance is lost and not restored, people may begin to take matters into their own hands. This can lead to cycles of revenge, conflict, or division, where individuals no longer trust official processes to resolve disputes or address harm. On a personal level, restoring balance through punishment can also provide the wrongdoer with a necessary reckoning. Facing the consequences of one's actions is often the first step toward making amends and transforming harmful behavior. It creates a space for remorse, reflection, and in some cases, redemption. Restoring balance through punishment means more than simply penalizing someone. It involves recognizing the damage done and responding in a way that acknowledges the seriousness of that damage. Victims need to see that their pain is taken seriously. They need to feel that their suffering was not ignored or dismissed. When the wrongdoer is held accountable, it validates the victim's experience and helps in the healing process. Without this step, victims may feel invisible or insignificant, and their wounds may deepen. Proper punishment provides a path for emotional closure by affirming that the harm they endured mattered, and that justice is being pursued. Punishment helps restore balance after a wrongdoing by addressing the harm caused and reestablishing the moral and social order that was disrupted. When someone commits a harmful act, whether it's lying, stealing, violence, or betrayal, it doesn't just affect the immediate victim. It often ripples through a community, creating a sense of injustice, fear, or instability. People begin to question whether they are safe, whether the rules matter, and whether those in charge are willing or able to protect and uphold fairness. In such moments, punishment serves as a mechanism to repair that broken trust and to reassure individuals that the system still functions, that justice is still possible, and that order can be restored. It acts as a way to symbolically and practically rebalance what was thrown off course by the wrongdoing. People are more likely to adhere to shared norms when they see that violations are not ignored. This shared understanding cultivates a safer, more respectful environment where people know what is expected and trust that those expectations are upheld. Moreover, when punishment aligns with the values a society claims to uphold, it validates those values in action. It proves that fairness, justice, and integrity are not just words written on walls or recited in pledges. They are principles that are defended and protected through accountability. By reinforcing these values publicly, punishment strengthens community bonds and assures individuals that they are part of something stable and principled. Through this reinforcement, social trust is built, and the integrity of the group or society remains intact. Seen rather than what is said. People learn by example. If a student sees a classmate cheat and face no consequences, they begin to think cheating is harmless. If an employee watches a colleague steal time or resources and still get promoted, they question why they should follow the rules. But if those who violate standards are held accountable, it reminds everyone else that the values of the group still matter. It communicates that honesty, respect, fairness, and responsibility are not just ideals, they are enforced realities. Punishment in this way acts as a deterrent not only to the individual but to the community at large. The knowledge that wrongdoing leads to consequence has a preventative effect, discouraging potential offenses before they occur. It helps maintain order not through fear, but through the awareness that justice is active and alive. Punishment serves not only as a corrective measure for the individual, but also as a powerful signal to the broader society, reinforcing communal values and expectations. Every society operates based on an unspoken social contract, a shared understanding of what is acceptable behavior and what is not. When someone violates this contract, the way the society responds sends a clear message to everyone watching. If punishment is absent or inconsistent, it tells others that the rules are flexible, that boundaries can be pushed without consequence, and that unacceptable behavior might be tolerated. This weakens the collective understanding of right and wrong and encourages others to test the limits, assuming that they too can get away with it. But when punishment is firm, consistent, and fair, it draws a clear line in the sand and strengthens the moral code that holds people together. Punishment, in this context, becomes a tool of equality. It levels the field by making sure that the same rules apply to everyone, regardless of their background. It discourages corruption and encourages responsibility at every level of society. Leaders, citizens, students, and employees all begin to understand that their actions carry weight and that trying to escape accountability is not an option. When this principle is upheld consistently, it nurtures a culture of honesty, responsibility, and mutual respect. People are more likely to behave ethically when they know they will be treated fairly and others will be held to the same expectations. In this way, punishment doesn't divide, it unifies by ensuring justice is not selective, but a shared standard that applies equally to all. Without equal enforcement of consequences, resentment and division grow. People who are punished harshly for minor offenses, while others walk free after serious wrongdoings, begin to feel that the system is not only flawed but intentionally unfair. This breeds anger, distrust, and even rebellion against authority, especially when these patterns continue unchecked. In contrast, when punishment is applied fairly and evenly, it helps to prevent abuse of power and protect vulnerable groups from being exploited or harmed. It shows that justice is not swayed by wealth, influence, or social status. This kind of fairness gives people a sense of security knowing that wrongdoing will be addressed no matter who commits it. When punishment is enforced properly, it upholds the principle that no one is above the law or beyond the reach of accountability. This is essential for ensuring equality and fairness in any system, whether it's within a family, a school, a workplace, or an entire nation. If people believe that certain individuals can act without facing consequences, whether due to power, money, popularity, or connections, then faith in justice begins to unravel. It creates an environment where rules are applied selectively and morality becomes a matter of privilege. On the other hand, when punishment is consistent and impartial, it reinforces the idea that all people are subject to the same expectations and will be held to the same standards. This consistency is what gives systems their credibility. People trust those in authority only when they see that justice is carried out without favoritism or bias. Furthermore, constructive punishment can help restore balance. When someone has harmed another, Facing consequences is part of making amends. It acknowledges the victim's suffering and affirms that justice matters. This helps not only the individual who is being punished to grow, but it also helps the victim heal, knowing that their pain has been recognized and that steps are being taken to prevent future harm. In this way, punishment becomes a bridge between wrongdoing and restoration. It doesn't erase the past, but it can shape a better future. A society that sees punishment not as revenge, but as a path to learning and improvement is one that truly values human potential and growth. This aspect of punishment is especially important in educational and rehabilitative settings. Young people, for instance, are still learning the boundaries of acceptable behavior. When they make a mistake, punishment should not be about shame, but about helping them recognize the consequences of their choices. A detention, a suspension, or even a stern conversation can, when handled appropriately, send a strong message that their actions matter and that change is expected. Similarly, in the adult world, systems like community service, restitution, or counseling as part of sentencing can turn a mistake into a lesson that lasts. This kind of punishment doesn't just aim to correct the person, it also protects society by reducing the chances that the behavior will happen again. Punishment, when rightly administered, plays a vital role in teaching and correcting behavior rather than simply serving as a form of revenge or retribution. It is easy to see punishment as a negative or harmful act, but in reality, it can serve as one of the most effective tools for personal growth and social learning. When someone faces consequences for their actions, they are confronted with the reality that their behavior has affected others, broken rules, or violated trust. This confrontation is not meant to destroy them, but to guide them toward better choices. In many cases, people who do wrong are unaware of the full impact of their actions until they experience a structured response that makes them reflect. Punishment, if applied fairly and constructively, becomes a turning point, a moment where someone can understand not just what they did wrong, but why it was wrong and how they can avoid repeating it. On the other hand, when society consistently enforces consequences in a just and visible way, it shapes behavior over time. People are more likely to think before acting, to respect boundaries, and to consider the impact of their actions. These reinforced boundaries make communities safer, more respectful, and more stable. They help people understand that freedom does not mean doing whatever one wants, it means acting within a framework of shared responsibility and respect. Consequences are not just tools of punishment, they are tools of instruction. They help define the limits of acceptable behavior, and in doing so, they protect the values that bind people together. This reinforcement is vital to creating a culture where morality isn't just spoken about, it's lived and upheld through real actions and consistent responses. Moral boundaries are what guide people in making decisions that consider the rights and well-being of others. These boundaries are taught at home, in schools, in religious or cultural institutions, and are reinforced by the legal system. However, if the systems in place fail to uphold those boundaries through meaningful consequences, those teachings start to feel empty. People, especially the young, watch how society reacts to injustice, and they learn what they can get away with. When bad behavior goes unchecked, it doesn't just damage individual relationships, it weakens the moral fabric of the entire society. People lose faith in fairness, in justice, and in one another. They begin to feel that doing the right thing isn't valued, while harmful actions carry no real risk. Consequences reinforce moral boundaries by clearly defining what is acceptable and what is not within a society. People learn values not only through education and culture, but also through the experience of seeing how actions are treated and responded to. When someone does something wrong and faces no consequences, it blurs the line between right and wrong, making it easier for others to cross that line without hesitation. But when there is a clear and fair consequence for harmful behavior, it sends a powerful message. Some actions are not only frowned upon, they will not be tolerated. This is essential for maintaining the moral foundation of a community. Without that foundation, people begin to justify actions that hurt others, or they start to believe that rules only apply to some and not to all. Moreover, ethical punishment means due process must be followed. Everyone deserves a chance to explain themselves, to be heard, and to have access to a fair evaluation of their actions. Rushed or emotional responses often lead to miscarriages of justice. True fairness ensures that even those who have done wrong are treated with the basic respect owed to every human being. This is not a weakness, it is a strength, because it upholds the values that make a society just and humane. Through fairness and ethical judgment, punishment becomes a tool for restoration, not just control. It helps people understand the weight of their actions while preserving the principles of justice that serve everyone equally. Laws and systems exist to guide us in determining fair consequences, but fairness goes beyond rules. It also involves empathy, wisdom, and the ability to see individuals as more than just their mistakes. For example, punishing someone harshly without considering their age, background, or mental state might fulfill the law but fail the test of ethics. Fair punishment must also be consistent. If two people commit the same offense but receive different consequences based on who they are or who they know, then justice becomes biased and corrupt. That kind of inequality erodes public trust and fuels resentment. Punishment should always be fair and ethical, because the purpose of justice is not just to respond to wrongdoing, but to do so in a way that respects human dignity and maintains moral integrity. When someone commits an offense, the instinct might be to act out of anger or vengeance, but true justice requires restraint and careful judgment. Punishment that is too harsh can be just as damaging as the original offense, creating more harm than healing. On the other hand, punishment that is too lenient sends the message that the behavior is acceptable or unimportant. Striking the right balance is crucial. The response must fit the nature and severity of the wrongdoing, taking into account the intent, the impact, and the context in which it happened. Ethical punishment considers all sides it seeks to correct behavior, protect others, and offer an opportunity for learning and growth, rather than simply humiliating or destroying the offender. But for potential future victims who might otherwise be at risk, it also sends a strong message to the wider society. Wrongdoing will not be tolerated, and there are systems in place to respond to it. This message deters others from engaging in similar harmful actions. People tend to think twice when they know that their actions will have consequences. Furthermore, punishment can remove immediate threats from society, such as when dangerous individuals are incarcerated or restricted from certain roles or environments where they could cause further damage. It creates a space where victims can begin to feel safe again, and where trust in systems, whether legal, educational, or social, can be preserved. In the absence of punishment, chaos can take root, and individuals may begin to take justice into their own hands, leading to even more instability. Punishment plays a critical role in protecting society because it acts as a barrier between harmful behavior and the safety of individuals and communities. When someone commits an offense, whether it's physical violence, fraud, theft, or abuse of power, the immediate concern is not just about the wrong that has already been done, but about preventing that person from doing it again. Punishment, when applied fairly and justly, creates a clear line that cannot be crossed without consequence. This line helps to preserve order and keep people safe from those who choose to disregard the rules that hold society together. If there were no repercussions for harmful behavior, people would have no reason to restrain themselves from doing whatever they pleased, even if it hurt others. In this way, punishment acts as a form of protection, not just for the victims of current offenses. Even minor wrongs, when consistently overlooked, grow into habits of abuse and entitlement. The strength of a society's justice lies in its willingness to enforce consequences, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's difficult. Consequences are the real-world reflection of our values. If we believe in honesty, fairness, and safety, we have to show it through action by ensuring that those who undermine these values are held accountable. Only then does justice become more than a concept. It becomes a living principle that protects, restores, and upholds what is right. Even minor wrongs, when consistently overlooked, grow into habits of abuse and entitlement. The strength of a society's justice lies in its willingness to enforce consequences, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's difficult. Consequences are the real-world reflection of our values. If we believe in honesty, fairness, and safety, we have to show it through action by ensuring that those who undermine these values are held accountable. Only then does justice become more than a concept. It becomes a living principle that protects, restores, and upholds what is right. Justice without consequences isn't justice at all. It's merely a hollow concept, a word we say without meaning if we don't back it with action. True justice demands that when someone causes harm or breaks rules, there is a response that addresses that wrongdoing. If people believe they can do wrong and face no consequences, it encourages a culture of impunity where actions no longer matter and morality becomes optional. It undermines the trust people place in laws, institutions, and even in one another. Imagine a society where serious crimes or betrayals are met with silence or inaction. Victims feel abandoned and wrongdoers become emboldened, knowing there is little or no price to pay for their choices. Over time, people lose faith in the systems meant to protect them. Justice must be more than words. It must be seen in the way we respond when someone steps over clearly drawn lines. This not only encourages repeat offenses, but also diminishes the morale of those who strive to do the right thing. Accountability ensures that everyone operates under the same expectations and that no one is above the rules. It's a form of justice that upholds fairness and promotes responsibility. Whether the consequences come through legal systems, social responses, or institutional measures, the key idea is that actions have effects, and those effects must be addressed. Without accountability, society becomes unbalanced and chaotic, and those who suffer from wrongdoing are left without closure or justice. Therefore, making sure people are held accountable isn't about revenge. It's about maintaining order, protecting integrity, and fostering a culture of responsibility. Accountability is essential in any functioning society because it creates a structure where actions have consequences, and people understand that their behavior affects others. When someone makes a choice, whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or within the community, they should be prepared to take responsibility for the outcomes of that choice. Accountability isn't just about punishment, it's about recognizing the impact of one's actions, owning up to them, and facing whatever consequences follow. When accountability is missing, trust breaks down. People begin to feel unsafe, unprotected, and disrespected. For example, if someone commits a serious offense like stealing, lying, or intentionally harming another and is not held accountable, it sends a dangerous signal to others that such behavior is acceptable or will be ignored.